right, here we go. We've got this 2013 Real Lights truck camper. We got it popped up. We've had it for probably a little over a year now. I mean, it's gently used, pretty good shape. But what we were having is we've got the manual jacks, about like every other truck camper, and so what we're working on today is we're going to be installing, I should say over the next couple days, probably a couple of videos on this. We're working on getting these bad boys right here installed. They're the Rieco Titan electric jacks. I've already got 2 of these installed, so I'm going to set you up here and we're going to go through converting that into the electric jack, and it's pretty interesting. It's fun. All right, so here's our jack. I'm going to use my phone for this video. Hopefully it turns out all right. But here's our jack. We're going to start. I mean, you got your crank handle here. The first thing to do, this will be the first part in the series. We're going to talk about removing the pin or pins, which can be a little bit intimidating. But first, you're going to pop this little spring clip. Don't worry about this piece. This piece right here, she's gone. No more for this. So pop this little clip out of here best you can. And you can come around to the other side. You can see same side, same kind on the other side. And that's just going to lay across there. We'll leave that right there because we don't want that in our driveway. Well, I don't anyway. I want it in my scrap van. However, this, we're not going to use that no more. So we'll get rid of that. All right. So on this, you'll see right here, there's a pin here, and then underneath here you can look and you'll see another pin. Pardon the grease. There we go. See that hole? There's another pin in there. All right, you have to remove both these pins, and that's not an easy part. This is not. All right, the kit also provides you with a 5/32 pin punch. And as you see, I've got the punch, just small needle nose pair of vice grips. That way it holds. It's got rough texture here. You can hold it with your fingers, but I've found that holding it with a pair of vice grips gives you a little bit more accuracy when you're swinging the big hammer. Well, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our ball peen hammer, or whatever kind of hammer you got. I knew that piece was getting away. All right, so crank handle. It's good to have your crank handle to remove this pin. You want to start in the vertical position, and we'll get another pair of vice grips for the bottom pin. All right, so you're going to start using your crank handle. You see where that pin's at? You're going to look for the end that's been hammered in. And right here you see the end that's not been hammered on. You're going to turn it into the vertical position. So if you're looking down on that, you're going to be looking straight at that pin. That's the easiest way to remove this one. All right. The next one, you're going to look down here and you're going to see sometimes they line up, sometimes they don't, but you'll see that this end's already exposed a whole lot. So when we're hammering this out, we would actually come in from this side. Sorry about the light, it's getting dark. But this is not the fun part, not something I can do with one hand. There's you a good picture of that pin. All right, you're going to start on this one right here and hammer it down. And then when you get so far down hammering this pin, just stop and turn your jack to where it's horizontal. That way you can knock that pin on out. And if you're welling on it, this pin's going to fly out. Make sure you find the pin, pick it up. All right, well, let me get started knocking these pins out, and we'll be right back with you. So, about 5 minutes later, we've got, I don't know if you can see, but yeah, that pin's out. And it's getting dark here, hard to focus. There we go, that pin is out. And if you look down there, that pin is out. And to prove matters further, what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the crank assembly. I don't know if you've seen that. It might have, my hand might have jerked a little bit, but we're pulling the pin out. Got the pin right here in our hand. We'll lay that aside. Once again, you're not using none of this stuff, so if anything gets damaged, it's all coming out and all new stuff's going in. You're going to remove your gear and your bushing. A little greasy. This especially is a little greasy. So I've got everything laying over here on my paper towel. Should have brought my pen over here. I've done 2 of these. They're not that hard. And then this is just going to lift up off this like so. And there you have that exposed. Now we've exposed the pin, or actually not the pin. We've exposed the shaft here. So when you're cleaning this, I wouldn't use no solvents or anything like that on it, because you're actually going to remove this washer. And there's a plastic bushing here, plastic bushing here, plastic bushing here. Take a flat screwdriver, there's a little washer plate right here too. I would remove all this. Then I have my little box of whatever you prefer. I've got Gojo wipes or turbo towels, whatever they're called, just the hand wiping towels. Just make sure you get the grease out of here, because we're actually going to be removing this washer and this bushing, and we're going to be installing just a new bushing, and then we're going to be installing a new pin, and then from there the whole system changes, and I'll document that probably in the morning. All right, appreciate you all watching. All right, hey guys, we're back with our truck camper jack conversion video. I know it's only been about 23 seconds for you all, but it's the next day here for me. I just figured we'd continue where we left off and getting this truck camper conversion done, as far as putting the jack, the electric motor onto the jack itself. So let me get you adjusted down here where you can see some stuff, and we'll go from there. Alright, now you want a screwdriver or a prying tool or something like that, because we're going to take this washer and we're going to pop her off there. We're going to pop a washer that's over here on the side. It's going to come out. Like I said, this stuff can get a little greasy here, so you might want to get you a paper towel here handy and lay your stuff on paper towels. Then we're going to get in here, and there's a bushing. There's two bushings actually on this one. There's a bushing right here on the side. You want to pop it out. And all this stuff can be discarded. You're no longer going to use it. We'll get to the kit here in just a second. I've got to run and get a wipe out of my garage, because now we've got the bushings out. We've got everything. We need to clean this whole area so we can start our fresh install. So give me just a second and we'll get right back. All right, guys, we're back. We got my garage wipe here, and all we're going to do is just give it a general clean here. It don't have to be 100% perfect. I like to try to get it best I can though. While we're cleaning here, I just want to say that this kit that I bought is expensive. Paid around $1,500 US for it. Pardon the dogs in the background. All of us got animals, I guess, or well, most of us do. They can be a little noisy sometimes, but they're harmless. Also, I wanted to mention that, you know, nobody sponsored this video. Rieco Titan has not sponsored it. You know, I bought this kit with my own money. It's something that I wanted. I think it'll make life a little bit easier. But once you got that cleaned up, we're going to let it dry for just a minute and come back to it. I've got to run in the house and get the parts and stuff, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, guys, the kit's going to include this bushing right here with it. It's got a flange on it, and the inset is going to go down and around your collar of your jack tube, and then it's going to fit a little snug, so I usually get me a socket that'll fit around my my jack stud sticking up here. So I've got my little socket right here, and you're not going to have to weld on it. And you're just going to tap this in place, and it's pretty simple. You just tap it, and you're done with that. Then the next thing we're going to do is get your pin punch back out. Once again, like I said, I've got it on the vice grip. We're gonna get our pin punch back out, and hopefully we can do it like this, but sometimes not. And unfortunately in this case, I'm gonna have to get my vice grips, I believe, and slightly turn the jack. I might be able to get it in here. Okay, we're gonna slightly turn the jack to where that hole is facing horizontal. It don't have to be perfect. Okay, but for this next step, the kit includes the little half pin. It's a little shorter than the pin you took out, and not near as hard to get in, but it will slide so far, and then you're going to have to knock that pin in place. And the key thing to remember here is when you're driving this pin in place, you want to drive it so it's pretty much protruding equally on both sides. And you'll see why here in just a second. So we're going to drive this pin in place. And okay, our jack stud's moving. So I've just got a standard medium pair of vice grips. We're not going to crimp down. We don't have to crimp down real hard. We don't want to damage the shaft. But that's going to keep that jack stud from spinning around. So now we're just going to keep driving this pin till we get it where we want it. Still not far enough. Okay, now that's about it. Now you see that? I mean, the other pins are a little bit longer, but they come out just about as easy. It just takes you a little bit longer where they are so long. You know, versus that other pin we just put in. This one's quite a bit. It's got a leaf on it, but you get the point. That pin's a whole lot longer. All right, now with that done, you've got a collar. You've got a collar that's going to slide over this thing, and it's going to go. You want to line up your pin. There's notches in there, and you want to line up your pin with those notches, and then you're going to drive it on. Once again, you're not going to have to weld. You're just going to have to tap. Make sure my notches are lined up. Alright, so that's on there. Next, what we're going to do is it comes with 2 nuts and bolts, one set for each, one set for each side. Alright, this thing has an offset. If you've got the Rieco Titan Jacks, you're going to have an offset in there. So if you put it on one way, it's not going to hardly want to go on there. Well, you know you've got it backwards, because what you're going to do is you're going to put it on the other way, and then you got a little play. But you're wanting that play in there. That's not a bad thing. Then you're going to, it's tight space, so you're going to have an open-ended 5/16 inch wrench, and then I've got a 5/16 inch half-inch socket. You're not going to go crazy on the torque, but you are going to tighten her up. They do have nylon lock inserts on the nuts, so you want to just get it started on there. You're not going to go past that nylon lock. Well, I mean, you could. I mean, you're going to have to be a pretty stout little feller there to go in. And like I said, we're just going to get it started and let the wrenches and stuff do the rest. Just get it on there a couple threads. And it is a tight squeeze in here. You are going to have to use, like I said, the open-ended wrench on the inside, or else you're not getting nothing back out. Alright, so we'll get our wrench and our socket, and we're going to start tightening. And we're going to make sure everything is level here, because we want it to fit good. Then we'll do our other side here. Pardon me if I hit the GoPro, or well, I'll say cheap Pro, because it's not really a GoPro, but it's adequate to do the job. And that's how tough that nylon nut is. I mean, I'm no by means a He-Man or nothing, but it's going to have a pretty snug fit when you get done there. Alright, so we've got that So that's what your assembly looks like so far. And you might give her a whack or two there, make sure everything's straight. Then what I usually like to do is, just to make it easier, let's get you a pair. I've got a pair of pliers here that's been working pretty good, and we're going to twist this jack tube to where it's lined up straight. Alright, and when you knock this pin in, sometimes this pin might be bowed in a little bit, bowed out, and so when you set your power head unit on there, it might not fit. But first you're going to get this little white plastic cover that it comes with. Then there's a foam gasket. There'll be a separate pack. Don't get it confused. There's a gasket in with the power head. The foam gaskets are in their own separate little pack. There's 4 foam gaskets. So then we'll get our power head out. Alright, so this is the rubber gasket I was referring to when I said don't get it confused. Alright, that's going to sit on top of that metal adapter that we had put on there. Alright, if you look inside your power head, you'll see that that's turned not the way we want it. We want it, when we put our power head unit on there, you'll either face it one of 2 directions, like this or like this. I think that's going to depend upon your preference. The wires are pretty straightforward. They're marked. It's going to have a hot and a ground, and they're only going to plug in one way. So I'm wanting mine hanging to the back, because obviously, you know, I've got a refrigerator door over on this side. I've got a propane door on that side, so I'm going to have mine hanging to the back. Well, what we need to do now is we need to get our pliers back, and we need to twist this. It's pretty easy to twist. There is a little resistance, but we want to twist that pin in there till it's to where it's facing the direction of our collar. Then we're going to set it down on here, and like I said, you see right there, it's not going. So when you're driving that pin on there, when you're driving that collar on there, it might tweak it one way or another. So it's off by just barely a fraction. So what we're going to do is we're not going to bend nothing. We're not going to put nothing in a bind. But what we want to do is we want to reach in here. I've just got a piece of 1-inch conduit, and we give it a couple good little tweaks. And what that does is it tweaks that collar, and it tweaks that collar to where you can install the jack on there. And forgive me, I should have opened this wire before we started this video. I'm going to have to run the wire on the underside of the jack of the power head so we can make it fit on when we do our connections. So it should fit. We might have to tweak it a little bit more, and we do. And like I said, we're not bending nothing. Don't put enough force on it to bend it. I mean, you're not trying to break it off. You're just trying to tweak that collar a little bit this way towards us. there it just sat down on there. So we didn't bend nothing. We didn't hurt the jack. The power head unit is definitely not hurt. We didn't do nothing to the power head unit. A little bit of fingerprints here and there. Alright, now the kit also comes with an Allen wrench. And you want to get your Allen wrench. Try not to stab yourself in the hand with the staple. It happens though. But it's got three set screws in it. And we're just going to turn these set screws in to where that power head unit is locked to the adapter that we put on there. Make sure if the wire is on the opposite side that you go ahead and run your wire on the underneath side of the jack before you put the power head unit on there, or else you'll be taking the jack off and putting it back on. Like I said, got myself with a staple. No big deal. We're not bleeding out. We'll finish tightening this one up, and that'll be the third one. Alright, and then so you're going to do the same thing with all four of these heads. It's the same exact process on all four of them. So I've got one more to do. We're going to finish it up, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about the electrical. I'm not licensed, not certified. This is my own camper. I'm doing this at my own risk. So this is sort of my disclaimer saying, you know, if you try this at home, you might want to seek help from a professional if you have questions. I'm pretty good with 12-volt stuff. I've wired my fair share of cars, batteries, boats, you know, everything like that, you know, so I'm comfortable in what I'm doing. If you're not comfortable in what you're doing, then, like I said, maybe seek some professional advice. There's a lot of professionals out there that are, you know, looking for your job to do. But we're gonna shut down now, and we're going to conclude this. We're going to call this part 1, and then part 2 is going to be electrical. And like I said, we're going to show you about how to wire the receiver box. We're going to show you how about, I probably won't show the running of the wires through the actual camper. That's going to be a little bit time consuming. But if you've got a truck camper and you sort of know your compartments and how you can feed your wire through, then you'll be able to do this pretty easy. Not a lot of tools are required. You know, you'll have a few tools that you will need, and I'll go over that with you in the next video. But thanks for watching, and catch part 2 of the video.